Washington last year, where they had. I mean, it was a magical run for the Caps. Start to finish, where
they're down 2-0. Losing 2 home games to Columbus. I mean, they're going to get knocked out in the first round, and then they end up winning the Cup.
Sure, and beating nemesis Pittsburgh on the way in Pittsburgh. But now the question is this because this is a franchise that has a lot of bad playoff history and a lot of bad Game 7 history and a lot of bad Game 7 history at home. Which Caps is it? Does last year erase all of that?
I think to a certain extent it kind of does, but the Hurricanes have nothing to lose, and they've got Mr. Game 7, Justin Williams, who's had a history of performing really well in games like this, and Holtby was really lousy in the last game, and that can carry over for goalies. So if I didn't bet the game, I'm thinking about making a small investment in Carolina just because the price is right.
Yeah, and I'm seeing the Caps as high as 160.
That's pretty good
right now, which is significantly higher than they were earlier in the day.
On the diamond, the Braves and Reds will get together. The Reds, somebody got an actual save for the Reds last night. The bullpens for these teams have not been good, especially the Braves. Look, either you're a contender or you're not. And if you think you're a contender, you got to go out and just take a shot with Kimbrel. Go buy him. Give him 2 years for more money than you need to offer him just to get him in there. Because your bullpen sucks, okay? And Vizcaino's out for the season. To me, you can lose a playoff spot. You can't win a playoff spot early in the season. You can lose one. And I think the Braves' bullpen is just killing them right now.
The question is, I mean, think about what Kimbrel was last year by the end of October.
I know. He's still a guy who knows how to finish a game, though.
It's almost like an NBA playoff series, though. NBA playoff series, you see it all the time. When a team is done, they're done. And Orlando was done, and then that's it. When a closer is done, I don't want that closer anymore.
I don't think he's done. I think he wore down a bit in the playoffs.
He wore down a lot in the playoffs.
Well, he did. I'd still take a shot. If it doesn't work out, what'd it cost you? A few $1,000,000?
Well,
by baseball standards, what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, the closers, the only closers you want to give the kind of money that Kimbrel's going to command are closers who are going to Hall of Fame, and I'm not sure that he's of that caliber. All that being said, I mean, the Braves are just going over the total every day right now.
Well, they can hit.
And we've seen the big market move on this, the 9s up to 9.5. I don't care. I mean, I understand I lost value there, but boy, if I'm looking at, the way I want to be approaching Atlanta right now, it's a lineup that's hitting, it's a starting pitching staff that's getting hit around a little bit, and it's a bullpen that can't get anyone out. The problem, of course, is that Roark's got a great track record against them.
He does. Yeah. He does. I stayed out of the matchup. Yeah. I really like the kid Soroka for the Braves. I think he's going to end up as the ace of that staff. Maybe not this year, but the eventual ace of that staff. He's got number one starter stuff. Roark, the regression is probably going to happen, but I don't know if it happens against the team he has a tendency to beat up on.
And they say that, I mean, he's a guy that year after year the advanced metrics say this, and Roark pitches better than the advanced metric stats would indicate, and he tends to be an undervalued commodity. So, in general, I want to bet the Braves over the total right now, but after the move from 9 to 9.5, we have not one but two starting pitchers who we like. Yeah, this is another one that the theory says take Atlanta over. I'm sitting on the sidelines.
Battle of the V's in New York tonight. Velasquez for the Phillies, Vargas for the Mets. Ooh, the Mets have made a little statement the first two games of this series. They wanted some payback for last week in Philadelphia, and they've gotten it with two impressive victories. Steven Matz was really good on Monday, and Zach Wheeler was even better on Tuesday. I don't think Jason Vargas will be quite as solid tonight. But the Mets have two wins on their side of the ledger, and the Phillies still have the same guys injured. And it is having an impact on the team right now.
This has been a really bad series for Philadelphia. When you have Arrieta calling out Harper.
Rightfully so, by the way.
But what's going on in that locker room right now? Honestly, yesterday was supposed to be a show-up game. All right, everyone's calling out and yelling at each other after the game on Monday. And yesterday they show up and lose 9-0. That's not a team I want any part of today. And the markets it's almost like the anti-Trump Fuhrer, It's like the anti-Vargas. Every time Vargas on the hill, they're just poor. It doesn't matter.
Have you seen the Mets' record in the games he started going back to like the All-Star break last season?
What do you got?
It's really good.
I know. He's won this year.
Good.
He had one bad start. He couldn't get out of the first inning.
Right.
His other two starts have been very serviceable. I don't mind a tired retread starter at a plus price that can get me 5 innings and go through the lineup twice. Especially when the Mets are right now the best team in that division, period.
And by the way, as ragtag as their bullpen has looked at times, the Mets are still perfect for the season when leading after 6 innings. I believe they're 11-0 now, leading after 6 innings. So their bullpen hasn't been blowing leads. What's happened where their games, where the bullpen's blowing up, is when they're already behind. Then the bullpen just adds fuel to the fire, and it just turns into a train wreck. But when they've been ahead, they've done well.
And current Mets have battered Velasquez. I mean, they've hit him pretty well. He had a very early start at Citi Field last September.
Time for a break. We'll come back. We will look at the matchup in Houston tonight. The Jazz trying to stave off elimination as they face the Rockets.
What's hot today? It's time for the WagerTalk Marquee Matchup of the Night. WagerTalk.com. Start winning now.
Well, a lot of teams have been kind of mailing it in elimination games so far this year. I shouldn't say a lot. There's just not that many. But I don't think the Jazz are going to do that. They're coming off a win in Game 4. And I think they'll at least take the court tonight, thinking we can get back in this series against the Houston Rockets as they take the court for Game 5. The problem is Utah had everything go right. Actually, you could say in both games. And they still were only able to split the games in Utah. And I think Houston just kind of showed up for Game 4. I mean, the Rockets almost won game. The Rockets did win Game 3, despite the fact that Harden couldn't put the ball in the ocean. They got the wrong side of what looked to be some questionable calls, and they still won the game. So, I don't know. I mean, I wanted to make a case for the Jazz tonight. They just couldn't do it.
Yeah, I'm with you in terms of I don't want Utah. That being said, maybe the Jazz figured out something defensively against Houston, because we saw the Rockets, games 1 and game 2. They 50% from the floor in Game 1. I think it was 48% in Game 2.
Looked like a mismatch.
Yeah, I mean, easy looks all game long. Both games in Utah, Harden was stifled. Rockets under 40% from the floor in both of those games.
Chris Paul on the bench for much of the second half in Game 3 because he got his 5th foul in the third quarter. And they still won the game.
Sure. And then closing out in crunch time of Game 4 where they missed, was it 17 straight three-pointers? I mean, it was pretty. 13. I don't remember what it was.
It was a lot.
They were 15-29, and then they made only 2 the rest of the game. But I think Utah has figured out some things defensively here with the lineup adjustments that are going to continue to give Houston problem. But I don't think that the Rockets are going to have a no-show fourth quarter like they did last time. And I think if Houston throws a punch, a real punch in the second half, I worry about Utah's ability to counter back.
Yeah, I think if you're going to, this is just my opinion, and I always want to say this because I know we don't have the same audience every day. I've made one NBA bet the whole season. I'm 1-0.
It was a good one.
It was a very good bet. It was a gift. So take that with a grain of salt here. But if I were going to play the game, I'd take Utah first half. I think the Jazz are going to come out battling in this game. I don't know if they can stay in there for 48 minutes, but for 24, wouldn't be shocked that the Jazz make this an interesting basketball game.
I wouldn't either, but at the same time, I wouldn't be shocked if we have a first quarter in this game like we saw some last night where the road teams just weren't able to compete.
And that's what bothers me about it.
That's why I didn't make the bet.
Well, but I'm thinking this. Orlando, I know they were kind of a nice story down the stretch and played well, but they really weren't that good. And the Brooklyn Nets, I never thought were that good. They just happened to. I think they played very hard all season and probably overachieved, in my opinion. They weren't good teams. Utah is a pretty good basketball team.
Sure, and very different than those two teams because the Jazz are playoff tested.
Right.
They were here last year. They were here the year before, whereas you look at their rosters for Orlando and Brooklyn, and the playoff experience there was few and far between.
Well, we managed to get through the entire show. Oh, wait a minute. Before we get to our LPT play of the day, let's talk about what's happening in WagerTalk. I put up a strong opinion on a playoff series in the NHL, and that's available now. Teddy, how about yourself?
Yeah, I got my first 5%er of the first round available for tomorrow's NBA.
And that's the highest ranking that's available.
Yeah, that's the first and only.
Good job.
I don't know. It's a good play, I think.
Yes, I know you wouldn't have put it up as a 5% if you didn't think it was. WagerTalk.com is the place to go to get those selections from Teddy, myself, Marco D'Angelo, Ralph Michaels, a lot of other really outstanding handicappers as well. And don't forget to check out the companion site, sister site, if you want to call it that, sportsmemo.com as well. All right, time for us to now go to our Lions Physical Therapy Play of the Day.
It's the LPT Play of the Day. Tonight's best bet from Lions Physical Therapy. Your 5-star rated specialists.
A new treatment that they're working on with herniated discs. You ever had one of those? One of the more unpleasant injuries, but you can get one in an auto accident or something like that, or just, injuring yourself. Lions Physical Therapy knows how to make you whole again. Make sure and check them out at LionsPTLV.com on Twitter. Marco and myself had a blowout winner last night as the Diamondbacks crushed the Pirates 2-1. Hey, look, they scored twice as many runs.
Yeah, it did.
Hey, that makes it sound better. But anyway, it was pretty good. And we decided, screw it, we're not going to put out one today. We're going to make you put out the LPT Play of the Day. You got a good one for us, though, right, Teddy?
I think so. Again, we got the Mets at a plus price. The Mets were minus 115 at the open in some spots. You can get plus 122 with them right now if you shop around. Plus 123. They're the better team right now in a lot of different ways. Give me the Mets plus price. That's the Play of the Day.
That's going to do it for us. Thanks to Jeff Davis, Director of Trading at Caesars Entertainment. Great spot with JD today. For Teddy Covers, in Jared Justice, I'm Dave Cokin. Have a great night.